the research shows that you have good eczema protection when you're at between 20 and 34 micromoles per litre in the blood. So basically, the big question you're trying to answer is your dosing of zinc effective or not? And so you dose your zinc for 2 or 3 weeks, take some bloods and drop them home into the vet and get those measured to make sure that you've got sufficient protection against facial eczema.
Okay.
But another really interesting and important fact is measure GGT levels at the same time.
Okay.
So GGT, and I won't go too much into it, but basically what it is it's a measurement of liver function in the cow.
Okay.
Or a measurement of whether the liver has been affected by the toxins. And so if your GGT levels are getting above 40, then those cows are becoming facial eczema affected, and it's going to be knocking milk production, and it's hurting the cow essentially.
Yeah.
So if you bleed the cows for zinc and get GGT at the same time, then you've got a good idea of how much zinc you're getting to the cow, and also whether they are or are not affected by the toxins.
Working. Kia ora team, what's up? We're here with Sean from Ag Plants, and we're talking about an interesting topic around eczema. Last week we covered off how the cows will eat spores in a paddock, the sporidesmin, and how they oxidize inside the cow. And we sort of touched on how zinc helps the cow get rid of those toxins. So now we're going to talk about how we can measure whether or not we're putting enough zinc in, or if the cows are getting the zinc that's required to offset those toxins. So it's a bloody interesting topic, this, because I didn't realise that it's not the sporidesmin itself that causes the issue, it's the oxidization. So keen to chat about how zinc affects that process and how we measure the level of what do you call it, poisons, or
well, I guess the zinc, what level of protection you have against the toxin. Yep,
cool.
For sure.
So how do you measure that?
Yeah, well, basically it's just measuring how much zinc you've got available. So like you say,
in the cow?
Yeah, in the cow,
okay.
Yep. So you're measuring her blood for zinc concentration. So, if you've got enough zinc, you're helping to block the conversion of sporidesmin into reactive oxidative species or toxin, which obviously overloads the liver like we did in the last video. So basically what we'll do is, so the vets it can basically take blood tests, or you can take blood tests and drop them into the vet, and they can get those measured with Gribbles or any other lab. And so you're looking for greater than 20 micromoles per litre of zinc in the blood. So the research says
20
micromoles.
Okay, is that like a 0.2 of a gram or something?
I actually don't know how
is it like, it's obviously a volume size, is it?
Yeah, so most blood minerals or trace minerals are measured in micromoles. So copper's in micromoles, and I think a few others are as well. So zinc is measured a very similar way. Okay. So basically you get all the results. So you're just looking for greater than 20 micromoles per litre in the blood of zinc.
Okay.
And so the research shows that you have good eczema protection when you're at between 20 and 34 micromoles per litre in the blood. So basically, the big question you're trying to answer is your dosing of zinc effective or not? And so you dose your zinc for 2 or 3 weeks, take some bloods and drop them home into the vet and get those measured to make sure that you've got sufficient protection against facial eczema.
Okay. And so the next question is, for the farmer, they realise that it's getting humid.
Yep.
Spore count might be up in the area of the region.
Yep.
So they want to go and act on it early and chuck some zinc in.
Mm-hmm.
How do they know whether or not to put 20 kilos in or 2 kilos?
Yeah, great
Do they
question.
just go and roll it out, or is there like a recommendation on the bag, or?
Yep. Yeah, so we have like a guide or a protocol that we can give to the farmer just to help guide you through that process.
Yep.
But basically, you don't need to start doing anything until you get into the period where you would expect some facial eczema to. Yep. So usually from December through to March is, May is the window. So it is quite a large window.
Yep.
But most people are dosing a very low level of zinc anyway, because you have zinc in your trace minerals, which you have going through here already.
Yep.
And so you just start ramping that up slowly.
Okay.
So usually in December, I say to guys, start dosing a low dose of zinc, and we can step through this properly when we start talking about specific products.
Okay.
But yeah, basically you start with a low dose, which builds a base level of zinc in the cow, and so this is when your spore counts are still quite low. And then you monitor the spore counts in your area. So the vets are posting spore counts all the time,
Okay.
so you know roughly what's happening. Once they get up to about 20,000, while your area spore count gets to about 20,000, that's when you want to lift up to what I call a medium zinc dose.
Okay.
And that's going to depend on what type of zinc and so on and so forth.
Yep.
And then once the spore counts get higher than that, so maybe up to 30,000, or you do some spore counting on your own farm, and you find the spore counts are getting up to 20 to 30,000, then you go up to a full dose of zinc. And so you really want to avoid going from no dose to a full dose of zinc in one hit. Yeah, the cows just go off the water, stop drinking, and that really has a big impact on milk production, obviously. And it's quite hard to get that zinc into them. Whereas if you ramp it up slowly, it's a lot easier to get a full dose into the cows.
Be like having your first drop of wine, eh?
Yep.
Like when you first taste wine when you're like 14, it's terrible.
Yeah,
By
that's
sort
right.
of 30, you're starting to hit your strips.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right. So
it's going the other way.
yeah.
We won't dig into that too much.
Yeah,
though.
you like your wine, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you obviously want to just introduce it to them slowly, but around once the farmers realise that he's going to put some in, and we start getting the cows, drinking it.
Yep.
Do a test on the cows, see whether or not it's working.
Yep.
What happens if it's not? You just up the level, or is there is there a roof?
Yeah, there definitely is, and that will be when the cows stop drinking the water. But a lot of farmers are getting quite creative with how they do zinc now. So a lot of zinc goes through the feed, obviously some through the water. You can go from dosing an inline dispenser type system to actually putting it straight in the trough through a trough dispenser. If you're worried you might have a water leak somewhere that you don't know about or whatever, because you've measured the blood and the zinc levels are still too low, that means that zinc is not getting to the cow.
Right.
And so basically changing your strategy and then taking bloods again to see how effective it's been, say a week or 2 weeks after you've changed your strategy, basically.
Cool.
So yeah, keep trying until you get those zinc levels up. But another really interesting and important fact is measure GGT levels at the same time.
Okay.
So GGT, and I won't go too much into it, but basically what it is it's a measurement of liver function in the cow.
Okay.
Or a measurement of whether the liver has been affected by the toxins. And so if your GGT levels are getting above 40, then those cows are becoming facial eczema affected, and it's going to be knocking milk production, and it's hurting the cow essentially.
Yeah.
So if you bleed the cows for zinc and get GGT at the same time, then you've got a good idea of how much zinc you're getting to the cow, and also whether they are or are not affected by the toxins.
Working. So what does GGT stand for?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Gotcha. We'll wait.
Yeah,
We'll
you
wait.
got me.
We'll
No,
wait.
yeah, I'll see if I can remember.
All right.
Glutathione transferase. I'm pretty sure that's...
Made that up. You made that up, partner.
Yeah. Absolutely. See, GGT. Eh?
Yeah. I'll slap it up there. Boom. There it is.
Yeah,
Right there.
Yeah.
GGT.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good measure, and it's not super commonly measured, but it's becoming more and more popular, which is really cool. So yeah, it's something
Well, if you're getting the
I'm
blood
really
test,
passionate.
you might as well chuck it in there, right?
Yep, absolutely, and we'll talk more about this later. But alongside zinc, there's other the supplements you can put in to help strengthen the health of the liver, the function of the liver, but also the regeneration and protection of the liver.
Right.
So GGT is a great measurement of how well that product's been working, basically. Yeah. So zinc is really great in the gut to reduce the toxicity of the sporodesmin, and then other supplements can really help support the liver at the other end. So you almost, rather than just trying to lean fully on zinc, you're actually leaning on helping regenerate the liver and protect the liver at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right, team. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thanks, Sean. If you guys want to check out any of the products from Advance or want to answer any questions, there's a link in the first comments below. Further to that, jump onto their website. You can get in touch with the man himself. Otherwise, comment any questions around the video. We'll get in touch with you, either myself or Sean. So awesome. Cheers for your time. See you guys soon.